Well, I'll start off by saying, I just came from flying. It's just an exciting thing. How many of us here in this room have actually flown on a plane? Flown on a plane? How about actually flown a plane where you're the pilot? Anybody? Well, that's what I'm doing now. I'm flying a plane. So talk about excitement, it's unbelievable. All my life, I've wanted to fly. All my life. Being in the military, working for the airlines, all I did was aircraft maintenance. I was around airplanes 18 years, but I never got behind the flight stick and actually flown. So probably the last 4 or 5 years, I've been really pushing to become a pilot. Pushing. Now, we all have reasons why we don't do stuff, right? It's either work schedule or income or raising a family, or there's different things that hold us back from doing some of the things that we want to accomplish in life. Well, these things kept holding me back. But this year, I said, this is the year, and I'm doing it. So I just got back from flying, as I said, and I got 7.5 hours under my belt of actually flying, which is pretty cool. And I'm actually very excited for today especially, and I'm going to tell you why. Because today, officially, I landed the plane on my own, which is kind of cool. That's the only thing that I hadn't mastered. Of course, I'm only into this 7.5 hours. But the takeoff was no problem. It hasn't been a problem. Flying around, whatever the instructor has told me to do, turn, climb, drop, whatever, line up for the runway, all of that has been easy, fairly easy for me. But actually lining up on the runway the last few feet and getting that nose right down the runway and landing on the runway, I've always needed a little bit of assistance, a little bit of input from the instructor. He's sitting right next to me, and he's got the same flight controls that I have. So if I, mess up a little bit, then he corrects me. Well, this is the first time I'm coming to the runway, bring down the plane, lands on the runway, and it's kind of lining itself and kind of flaring, and he goes, look where my hands are, look where my hands are. And I said, no, I don't want to look. He goes, you gotta look where my hands are. And I kind of looked off to the side here, and he had his hands off the flight controls. He says, you landed this plane on your own. I said, wow. I said, are you messing with me? He goes, no, I'm not messing with you. You really landed on your own this time. And so I'm happy to say that was the first time. Now, every flight that I've gone up on, I've taken someone with me. Because I'm so excited about flying on a small plane, which I've flown plenty of commercial and military and so forth, but I was excited about flying on a little plane. So every chance I get, I ask people, do you want to come flying today? Do you want to come tomorrow? And I've been bringing people along. Now, here's the interesting thing. Some people, even with the offer of a free flight, still have an excuse. What do you think the biggest excuse may be, or has been? What?
Don't have time.
Time. What's another one?
Scared.
What?
I'm scared.
Darn right, that's the one, huh? But they mask it with other stuff. I'm busy, this, that. And one of them, I was talking to someone on the way home today, and I said, I really want you to come fly with me. And she said, really not that into flying, especially little planes. That's another way of saying I'm afraid to fly, right? Now, what do you think is safer? Big commercial plane or a little plane? What do you think?
Commercial. Bigger flight.
Really? Wow. Okay, well, since you're in the flying public, I'll agree with you for that. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, really, when you're flying at lower speeds, really, a smaller plane has better control. And the pilot instructor has proven it to me on every flight. We're flying along, and he says, let the plane go. I go, let the flight controls go? Yeah, let it go. And I just let the plane go, and guess what it does? It maintains level flight, level speed, nothing going on. It just sits there and flies. It just sits there and flies. You have to force the plane into a stall, a spin, or it will not do it on its own. It will not do it on its own. And it proved it to me today as well. Because guess what? Today he said, and that's probably why my heart is still racing a little bit. He says, well, it's kind of good that you don't have passengers today. Because today we're going to do some of the maneuvers that are going to save you when you get in trouble. I said, well, what are we talking about? Well, we're going to practice stalls. We're going to practice spins. And all of a sudden my heart rate went. And he goes, you're okay with that, right? And I'm like, yep, I'm okay. But inside I'm thinking, oh man, Now he's going to see me get scared, because now I'm going to be afraid of what's going to happen. But he proves to me, again, the plane has to be forced to stall. He pulled the power all the way back, which means slowing the plane down right in the air, and then you pull all the way back on the yoke, and so the nose goes up. So if you pull back the power and you force the plane to climb, which is bringing the nose up, guess what happens? The plane runs out of airspeed, which is what keeps the plane in the air, right? The air going over the wings. It runs out of airspeed and the plane does this. It just wants to fall out of the sky. And I said, no, we're getting too close to stall. He says, we're going to stall the plane. You got to be okay with it. Yeah, we're going to stall it. And I'm looking at the speedometer with the airspeed indicator, and it's going, and it's out of the green band, and all of a sudden you hear a little whistle. That means stall. And he says, get ready because the plane's going to drop right now. I'm like, well, what do I do? What do I do? He says, just relax. When the plane stalls, just point the nose down a little. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
Point the nose down. It's opposite of what your brain wants to do. I'm falling down. You want to pull up, right? When you pull up, you're stalling the plane even more. So he said, just stay calm. When you feel it finally drop out of the sky, just push the nose down more and give full power to the engine. So when you take it out of the stall angle and you turn the plane nose down, it immediately picks up enough speed to stop the stall. Immediately. And then with the power of the engine, you just fly right out of that thing. We did it like 4 or 5 times. And he goes, now we're going to do a spin stall. A spin stall? What are you talking about? Same thing, stall the plane and let the plane start spinning to the side. And I'm just thinking, well, it's kind of like when you're on a roller coaster and you're just sitting on that roller coaster and it's just doing all this thing. I just said, I got to relax. Because I got my instructor right here. He's going to not let anything bad happen to us or the plane, right? So there we go. And then he says, we're going to do some tight turns, spirals down to the ground. And so that's what we did. We started at 3,500 feet, and then we just started a super tight spiral all the way down. We probably went down about 1,000 feet. And we're turning the wings like pointing at the ground. We're going down. That was pretty exciting, but it didn't bother me. What bothered me was the stall. The plane goes up like this, and it's like when you go on a roller coaster and you get to that end before it drops, that's what it feels like. But it feels horrible because it's your life. You're in a plane. You're not in a roller coaster, you're in a plane. Now I'll tell you some of the other things that were a little scary today, which to me was unusual. And he says, yeah, these jerks, there's other pilots. This is what happens. This is how we get in trouble. There was other pilots. We're calling out our altitude. We're at 3,500. We're practicing stalls. We're practicing this. We're practicing that. And some joker calls over, yeah, I'm going 3,500 too. Well, why are you doing 3,500 too? Because if we're 3,500, you should be at 3,000, or you should be at 4, or you should be at 2 or something, not at 3,500 too. So while we were out practicing over Long Beach Harbor, watching the Queen Mary and the break and all that, we got pretty darn close to 2 other airplanes. I would just say it like that. We got pretty close. They're like buzzing by, and I said, hey man, they're a little too close. He goes, yeah, those idiots, they heard us. We're at 3,500. What are they doing? That's where people get in trouble, flying small planes. Because it's the pilot that's causing the problems. It's not the plane. It's not that they're safe or unsafe. It's the person behind the wheel. Those guys are doing their practices and things next to us at our same altitude. That was no good. I saw a couple planes pretty darn close. I said, you know what, I'm not too happy about that. He said, yeah, well, that's those idiots. That's what causes problems. You have mid-air collisions and things like that. But I'll leave you with this. I don't know what excites you in your life, but for me, it's always been to fly a plane. And now I'm flying a plane. And I'll tell you guys this, it's $200 an hour. It's not cheap for every person. I mean, it's a toughie, right? $200 an hour, it goes pretty darn fast. But I'm committed to getting my license. I'm committed to continuing improving, right? Getting better, doing instrumentation, maybe become an actual instructor. So maybe in a year or so, hey, you want to come flying? I'll teach you. That's the next route. And it's a lot of fun. I'll leave you with that. Be excited. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life, don't wait till it's too late. Do it. Do it, do it, do it, and enjoy it. Let's talk faster.